Home. It's where you build your legacy, where traditions are started, seeds are planted, meals are shared, and stories are told. We are Chris and Natalie Carpenter, owners of Story Real Estate, and our team of top agents helps people find homes in Moscow, Idaho, and around the country.
Have you thought about a move? Contact us to get connected with a top agent who shares your values and puts your family first. Or reach out to us about our Moscow relocation guide.
Wherever you're looking to go, we can help you find home. Call us at Story Real Estate or visit us at storyrealestate.com and start building your legacy.
Because I know you go after beer. So
Beer and
nice to
songs.
start off with a song.
Yes. You want the tropical? The tropical? Okay. I'll do the Isolation L. What psalm is this, Toby?
Psalm 68.
Psalm 68.
Let God arise by his might, put all his enemies to flight.
Amen.
Beer and Psalms Wednesday. Thank you for joining Cross Politic on the Five Live Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chuck Doc, Psalm the Water Boy. It's good to be with you.
Hey, if you're a fan of Cross Politic, then you should know that I'm pouring a beer and reading this ad at the same time.
And we hope you're doing the same thing.
If you're also a fan of the Fight Laugh Feast Network, then surely you know we have a merch store, right? Rowdy Christian Merch is your one-stop shop for everything cross-politic merchandise. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, hats. Nice. We've also got specialty items like backpacks, mugs, coffee, even AirPod cases. Visit Rowdy Christian Merch at rowdychristian.com. That's rowdychristian.com. And buy that next gift or little something for yourself. Again, hey, you know, St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner.
We're doing that one too.
We're doing that one too.
All right, yeah.
Big sale for St. Patrick's Day. Everything green is half off. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, President's Day is, I think, next.
Oh, yeah, that is. That's true. That's
Buy
next week,
your special something
for President's
Day. You don't want to miss that. RowdyChristian.com.
All right. So as we've covered the Ohio train derailing, apparently, so I did a little more research into train derailings. There's about 1,700 train derailings every year.
Okay.
That's kind of a lot. Derailings every year.
Derailings.
Derailings. That's how we say it in Texas.
That's right. Fixing derailings. You got to fix them derailings. Okay.
1,700.
Yeah.
That's kind of a lot.
It's kind of a lot. Obviously, they don't all end in catastrophic, train wrecks, but there are derails.
That's like, what is that? 5 a day on average?
I don't know how many trains. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'd have to.
How come
350 into 1,700?
Right. Wow.
It's like an average of 5 a day. Like, so what are they doing with these trains?
Pete Buttigieg has some work to do then, doesn't he? Yeah.
Five derailings.
And I might as well blame Pete. It's his fault. But Governor DeWine actually today came out and finally getting some press on this. But actually, I think they're getting press on it is because small news organizations, TikTokers and YouTubers have been like, hey guys, how come no one's addressed this?
Rebel News came from Toronto all the way down. And
I actually can probably contribute mostly to Cross Politic reporting on it. Yeah. And Governor DeWine.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
And he's like, I got to respond to Cross Politic. So this is actually Governor DeWine on Don Lemon.
That's the new morning show over at CNN. I don't think it's working out so well. But,
Here we go. Here he is.
Can you say with absolute certainty that the residents of East Palestine are safe?
Well, what we're trying to do is provide them every day with the information. And we started testing, the air. The air has remained good. We will continue to test every single day. Even
like
when the
PCR
controlled release was done, we told people in a certain area they needed to leave. And outside that area, we never saw really a significant change in the air at all. But we're going to continue to do that. As far as the water, the fish that were killed, very soon after the initial train crash occurred. We continue to monitor the water in different streams as it goes out. And we did get a test back late yesterday of the water in the village. And the first well that we tested the water was fine. We expect to get the next results back today. We'll make those available as well. Out of abundance of caution, we told people and have told people, yes, use use a bottle of water. Don't take a chance. Wait until
sounds like
we
you're
get
saying you're not sure that they're safe,
the
Governor.
test back. Look, what I said yesterday, I would be back there if I was living in the community with the air. The air has been safe. It continues to be safe. The drinking water that comes into the system, we think is deep wells. We think it's safe, but we told people out of abundance of caution until we get the test back, you should drink bottled water.
But Governor, what would you say to residents who are saying, if I'm being told by my governor to drink bottled water, is it really safe to go back?
Hit pause. That's not the only question. The only other question would be like, what about showers? If the same kind of water is killing fish, do I want that kind of water on my body? Not just the drinking water.
Sure,
But can I take a shower? Or what can I use this on my lawn? Anyway, keep going.
Testing the air, and the air continues to be safe. It has been safe all the way through. The water, what we've told them is just what I said, which is that we think these deep wells are fine, that they're not going to have a problem. But we can't tell them that until the tests come back. So again, total transparency. We're testing as we test. We'll tell people exactly what we find.
I mean, it seems like he's being somewhat as forward as possible.
This a little. I mean, I wish he was a little.
But what I'd like him to say is, and the train company that wrecked is going to pay to fix and clean up everything.
He actually did say that. That's part of this
okay.
in here. So he actually said, we just cut, this is like 7 minutes. So we cut it down to about 2 minutes and 14 seconds.
Okay.
So one of the things that the company says, they're not leaving until all of this is picked up, until all of it's taken care of. And he said, we're going to hold them to that. And so they asked, should they be responsible for medical check-ins for the people? And I thought that was a good question. He said, yeah, they should be responsible for all of it. And so the train company or the chemical company, they're taking responsibility for all of this.
There you go.
And so
that's
they're
because the
it.
government's probably helping them.
Well, first I want to believe.
Remember, because Biden was negotiating with the train union.
Okay, maybe, but I want to believe first that there's good intentions from the people who had the train company say, hey, you know what? Yeah. We want an environment that's good and healthy too. Yeah, right. I don't want to think nefarious about them if I don't have to, right? Yeah. And so I want to hold the good things there with them and say, okay, they're there for the long haul, and we haven't seen them leave.
If they're saying it, to take them at face value.
Because I will think that that's my default position.
Okay, so there was a reporter that was also arrested at the event, and is good. Governor DeWine also addressed that issue here in the interview.
A News Nation reporter, Evan Lambert, was arrested. I know you've called for the Attorney General to drop the charges against him, but can you make sure that no reporters are ever arrested at a press conference that you're holding again simply for reporting?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, I've held over 500 press conferences since I've been governor of the state of Ohio. We've never had an incident, never had a problem. I'm very, very accessible. This reporter who was reporting live from the back of the room never should have been asked to stop, never should have been told to be quiet. That was a big, big mistake. And, the person who did that, I've explained to them, and I'm sure that he'll never do that again.
I mean, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Public apology, right? I would love. That's the only thing I would want, a public apology. Yeah. Our producers found out that the Ohio River is contaminated by the East Palestine chemical spill, and it provides 10% of the United States water supply. Yeah. So this is kind of important. The Ohio River is fed by the Mississippi River, is 981 miles long and borders 6 states. So this is not a small thing.
I think I read somewhere that it's about 10% of the nation's
that's what knocks
United States nation's water supply.
10%.
So 10%.
I just heard that somewhere.
Yeah, you just heard that.
I was like,
so it's not a small thing.
Toby, thanks for that information.
Yeah,
I was like.
The thing is, like, the question I have is,
is there an echo in here?
What we'd be talking about it if, we hadn't had the people on the ground complain about it? Because this is the 8th.
It's true.
Yeah.
And nobody was saying anything. And
it's like, 10 days ago that this happened?
And it's like, everybody knows news moves fast. It's like, I think everybody wants things to blow over, but no, don't let it blow over. Yeah. Come out and say, look, guys, we're dealing with this. We're on it. We just want you guys to know about it, and we're going to hold people responsible for it.
Get out in front of it.
So I appreciate this.
Republican Senator, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. We like Josh.
We pronounce it Hawley, but that's fine.
Hawley.
Yeah. Josh is a good guy.
Hawley. It's very confusing.
AW is always pronounced aw.
And he
awful,
is
awesome.
Hawley. Well, there's kind of an
awkward.
Right, yeah, awkward. That's fair.
It's aw.
Okay.
Aw.
He is proposing the Mature Act. like mature people act. Okay.
Oh no.
And leave it to Republicans to propose
Why do
this.
I think that what comes next is not
mature? It's not theologically mature.
So we're that immature now.
Yeah.
That we need a mature act.
Mature act.
Okay.
And this act would require social media platforms to verify that users are 16 or older.
Yeah.
Okay. By scanning a government-issued ID and prohibit social media companies from opening up accounts for children under the age of 16.
Okay.
That's the act.
Yeah.
It goes on. The legislation would allow parents of children under the age of 16 to sue social media platforms for damages if the platform allows their child to open an account.
Do you know right now tobacco websites? Have you ever gone to one tobacco website? You know what you have to do
You
to
guys
get on
18 or older.
18 or older?
Yeah.
Click.
Yeah.
So this could get worse for them.
Are you 21?
Sure.
Click. Yeah.
I identify
So, but here's
as 21.
so this is Josh's statement on this.
Oh man.
And I'm just gonna say right now, this is Fauci's argument.
Ouch.
Children suffer every day from the effects of social media. At best, big tech companies are neglecting our children. What? Big tech companies are neglecting our children's health and monetizing their personal information. At worst, they are complicit in their exploitation and manipulation. It's time to give parents the weapons they need to strike back, Hawley said.
He's not. I don't think he's wrong about that, though.
Wrong about what?
He's not wrong about the fact that social media platforms are going after children.
Right. But he is wrong that parents are somehow already have the tools to fight back.
Big tech companies are neglecting our children? That's horrible that he said that.
Well, they're targeting our children.
No, parents are. Big tech companies are neglecting our children. They aren't our children. First of all, they aren't They aren't big tech's children.
Right.
They're mom and dad's children.
Yeah,
so his whole the statement is just.
I think that's how he would say sure.
Yeah.
But America's kids.
But this is, but that's full of half truths and lies.
But leave it to Republicans to use big government to put new laws on big tech,
right?
To get more involved in business, to regulate big business.
So there's more in the article of their intent for this. And I think what everybody is seeing, their intent is the fact that they know that TikTok particularly and other social media sites are promoting a form of transgenderism and dysphoria.
Yep.
And they are saying
they're promoting everything.
Everything.
All sexual confusion, perversion.
But the place that's really getting them is dysphoria because now you have you're acting on it. You're getting the surgery. Mom, I'm a boy.
Yeah.
Right? And I got the money to go do what I want to do because the government's providing it for me.
Yeah.
And so I just was wondering if why not just go for the schools? Right? Why not just go for government schools and say, you know what? Government schools has failed us. I think we need to abolish the government school system, give the money back to the parents and let them choose how they want to educate their children.
Well, the reason why I said this is Fauci's play is because basically he's saying that this is a public health, social media companies are a public health crisis on our children regarding the transgender issue.
Right.
And so we're going to regulate.
I think it's something that everybody can agree with. So that's one thing that's really interesting about this. Everybody agrees with regulating social media platforms.
Yeah.
They just want to regulate it differently.
Right? I also think particularly that the Republicans have been beat up by big tech social media platforms over the last couple of years. Right. And so they're trying to find any way to hit them.
Right.
So my question was, at what age should the government allow you to let your kids shoot a gun?
The government should have nothing to say about it.
That's right. None of your business.
Right.
That's what the question is.
How about what age should your kids be allowed to smoke cigarettes? Should the government give you an age limit there?
That's none of their business.
None of their business.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole. Alcohol, tobacco, firearms
is the parents' job.
Yeah, that's the parents' jurisdiction.
That's a parents' bureaucration.
If a crime if a crime is committed, then it becomes the civil magistrate's job. If someone's shooting his gun off.
Let me set this up.
Pastor.
Let me set this up here real quick. So I was Megan Basham actually retweeted Josh Hawley and said this is great.
Yeah.
And I responded to her on Twitter and I said this is just more Republicans using big government to regulate big tech. And then she responded with the cigarette thing.
Right.
Can't the government regulate cigarettes? And then I was like, no.
Right.
And then we jumped to porn. Yeah. Can the government regulate porn? And I'm like, yes.
Right.
There's a 10 commandment violation happening there.
Right.
And we have evidence of it because it was filmed.
Mm-hmm.
We have adultery being filmed. We have an orgy being filmed. We have fornication being filmed, whatever's happening, we have the evidence.
Well, it's a crime is the thing.
It's a crime.
There's actually civil penalties established in the Bible for it. There's no civil penalty ever for inhaling smoke.
Yeah.
In fact, if you went to the tabernacle regularly, you probably had to.
You know, okay, that's hilarious. But Pastor, doesn't you see that it's a gateway drug and it causes harm eventually? I mean, these kids can start smoking cigarettes and get cancer of the lungs.
Yeah. And God is going to hold their parents responsible.
That's right.
The government that oversees health and medicine, which we've been saying, it's like 2020 just went out the memory hole.
That's right.
Or down the memory hole. I'm turning into Gabe.
Up the memory hole.
Oh, man. And you haven't even been drinking hardly at all.
Oh, my goodness. But it's like, do you not remember what happened in 2020? Yeah. I comment on this a few times on Twitter today. And
I've seen that.
People been coming after me and they're like, yeah, but what if something, it's harmful?
That's what I was going to ask you.
But you guys, 2020 happened. Do you not remember what the Fauci argument?
Yeah.
Somebody might get hurt.
It's a public health crisis.
Right. And this is and so the principle is that the Bible teaches that there's a difference between sins and crimes. Mm-hmm. All sins are before the Lord.
Yeah.
You've sinned against the Lord, but they're not all the jurisdiction of the government. Some sins are crimes also, like fornication, like adultery, like sodomy.
And some sins are not crimes.
That's right. So covetousness is not a crime. Yeah. And it might be a sin. It is a sin to drink too much.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a crime.
Right.
To be drunk.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a crime to commit a crime while intoxicated.
Yeah.
And frequently, if you're intoxicated, you're more likely to commit a crime.
Well, it wouldn't matter if you were intoxicated or not, actually.
Right. But it may be more common, is what I'm saying. So but that's
drinking and driving. You're more likely to hit someone.
More likely to lose your temper
and to commit a
do
crime.
something you shouldn't do.
Well, but there's also certain laws that punish those crimes harshly, so that people don't do those things.
Right. Yeah. No, the whole thing is, the other distinction is that as far as I can tell, the Bible is very clear that the civil magistrate's primary role is punitive. It punishes evildoers with a sword. That's its job. Now, it does say that it praises the righteous and it promotes good. But the question is how do you praise the righteous and how do you promote the good? Now, one way would just simply be the king or the magistrate saying, I think that you all ought to do this.
Right.
And good job, all you people doing good things. Yeah. Yay, pro-lifers. Yeah. Yay for Christian marriage.
Good job going to church.
And make sure you go to church.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have any problem with civil magistrates using the bully pulpit like that to praise the righteous and promote good that way. The question is what can they use the sword for?
Yeah.
And as far as I can tell, all you have is the sword being used for is actually when a crime has been committed.
Yeah.
But what you have is people worried about what they want is preventative justice, not punitive justice, but preventative justice. Something bad might happen, but what that leads you down is the Fauci. That's Fauci justice.
So let me push back a little bit on this and work this out.
Yep.
Let's say that the civil magistrate sees something like TikTok that actually is within its ability to be able to control. I think there's actually a reasonable way for
because of international commerce.
Absolutely. Well, no, not just the commerce side.
Yeah.
If they're to protect the borders and the people within the borders, and some sort of platform is infiltrating to gather information on the people to use it in a wicked way, I think they can absolutely come in.
They're spying on Americans.
Absolutely. That's within their responsibility to protect the borders. I think it comes into a border situation where they can say, yeah, this is bad. But do they have also responsibility to say, this is, like, for instance, I wrote down here, leading the blind person into stumbling, right? Mm-hmm. So now they see this institution that is leading a blind person into stumbling, and they see that. Is there a way for them to act on that?
Yes.
This is Deuteronomy 27:18.
Yes. Yep. And the way is you punish those who do it.
Right.
So the one who has actually led a blind person astray and caused them to fall into the ditch.
So then let me work into this.
You can measure damages.
Right. So then
eye for eye, tooth for tooth. And I would say the same thing. If parents ought to be able to sue TikTok, if their little boy comes out as a little girl and gets transgender surgery, sue their pants off.
So you got a couple people involved.
Ask the government to do justice.
So then you have the individual who actually did the surgery.
Yep.
And then you have the ones who influenced them.
Yep.
Fraud. Do you? So then you got this person. I don't know what that penalty to be. He got to set it all back right. There's a lot of things that are going on there.
Right.
That's some serious damage you got to work through.
Right.
What does a civil magistrate do for somebody who continues to do that and is not learning that they,
Well, I mean,
because if they got, so they pay their damages and they keep going.
Right.
They pay their damages and they keep going.
Right. Well, exile is a legitimate punishment, and so is censorship. And so I think there are places where blasphemy is not to be allowed in a Christian society.
Right.
You don't get to go around blaspheming the Lord Jesus Christ, the triune God,
and to destroy Imago Dei and support support of it.
That's right. And you also pornography should be censored. It should be banned, and so forth. And so I think the same thing. I think censorship / exile, meaning you may actually ultimately lose your privileges as a company here if it's so egregious. Prolific and egregious.
So in one sense, we don't necessarily disagree with what Hawley's trying to do, just the way that he's going about doing it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So because
the principle though is he's going after the wrong thing.
Right.
It's all framed the wrong way.
I think it's usurping the authority from the government of the family.
That's exactly that's what I'm saying. It's like when you set an age, you're acting. I called this is the Karen. Right. This is the Karen state.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's what this is. You're
Karen Howley.
Yeah, right. But I think he means well.
It's a paternal attitude of government.
Exactly. But it's mom and dad's job to decide when and how their children should use social media. I think it should be highly limited, and I think they can run it how they want to. I have no problem with social media bans, so long as it's from the right government.
Right.
Yeah. It's the government of the family's job.
Yeah. And I think even the church could say, listen, good fathers.
Yeah.
Don't let your children be in this at this age, and give wisdom on that.
Absolutely.
But it's Machiavellian. All the power is in one government to operate, and the family needs to be making that decision.
But I think it's also exactly. And the thing here is I think, and Gabe, you were I think intimating this earlier, is I think this is a failure of conservatives to see where the strategic battle actually is.
Yeah.
And this is this is what Democrats did with cigarettes.
Right.
Well, Republicans did it too. Probably
they probably all did it too.
They all supported
it. It's a public health crisis.
But it's just insane and foolish. But what they ought to see is, rather than doing this, why are we not on a full-out assault on pornography?
Yeah.
Why are we not on a full-on assault against the drag queens?
Yep.
Because we're all Frenchian in some point of that.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that's what we ought to be fighting.
Right.
And actually, I was thinking of I saw the interaction you had with Megan on Twitter, and but one of the things I remember that she pointed out that we talked to her about on our live show was public schools. The amount of
sexual abuse
in public schools
is radically crazy.
It is off the charts.
Like 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 or something like that.
Compared to whatever the tiny minuscule percentages that have happened in
the Catholic churches,
SBC or whatever.
I think SBC had in 20 years they had 200 cases.
Yeah. I mean, and of course,
and all of them had been adjudicated.
And
there's 700. 700. I think they're all adjudicated.
And anytime it's ever happened, it's been wicked and horrible. And I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just saying if we're going to go after child abuse, which is what he's talking about here. He's talking about the health of our children.
Yep.
Why are we not completely gutting public schools? Meanwhile, what we're actually doing with school choice and ESAs, you've heard me say, is actually giving them more funding.
That's right.
So is this the wrong way of incrementalism? Because I think that's where so then what would be the step that would say, here's a good place that you can actually get some movement on? Where's the incremental move here? Because I think Hawley is looking and say, hey, everybody wants to ban. I want to ban it in this way so that we can move the. Right. So I think he's trying to do that, right? So what's the actual play that you would say, Hawley, try, Gabe?
I got so the House can actually pass a resolution promoting righteousness. So it's not a law, but houses can say, hey, this is our statement on this issue. It's a resolution. They can all vote on it. So they could, the incremental place to start would be say, all this transgender stuff, all this pornography stuff online is all wicked, and parents, we encourage you guys to be parents about this issue and not the government.
That's good. Pastor Toby, please.
Yeah, I've got a better idea.
Okay.
Because
I'm fine with that.
That was cool.
That's incremental. It's very like.
Here's what I want to do. I want them to pass a law that says the next child pornography they catch is going to be publicly hung.
Can we just have public executions again?
Yeah.
We need to make public executions great again.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the act. Make public executions great again.
And people,
I'm with that.
But this is the thing. Like this is when justice is done swiftly, righteousness prevails.
That's right.
But what we're doing is we're beating around the edges in a million ways that do basically nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, execute murderers, execute child pornographers. That's all. That's what I would say. Do that.
Yeah.
Actually, and
empty the prisons of those. Let's start there.
Here, let's just do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, suddenly, when you actually start doing that, when you say, okay, you mean really, like, people are going to die if they commit these crimes? Yes, you're dead.
There's something like 19 public executions we've had in like forever.
I'm like, you know, of course, you know, the theonomy types are, you know, you want to stone homosexuals or whatever. Like, no. I'm just talking about murderers and
we'll get there.
Pedophiles. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Child pornographers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, that will put a serious damper.
That's Holly.
A serious damper on the enthusiasm.
Yeah, yeah.
And would also send a signal to TikTok and send a signal to Twitter and send a signal to Instagram and all the social medias. You better watch it.
You know,
we are going to protect our children, and we're going to take it this seriously. This kind of stuff is like licenses.
Yeah, but
is retarded.
You're using government ID to go and get do business with a company, private company.
You're not,
it's insanity.
like, part of me, like, I think he means well, but I guess I also want to say you're not actually serious. You don't actually care about protecting our children.
You know, I think
this is virtue signal.
The first time I heard of this, my first thought that passed through my head was, why not grandstand on parents? You are really screwing up right now. If your kid is on TikTok and the serpent has come in and you've allowed them to talk in your kid's ear, you've screwed up.
Yeah.
And you need to go back on your knees and repent, because you're making your mess fall into my category.
That's right.
And it's not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And so my job isn't to start acting like your father. My job is to tell you to get back in line.
Yeah.
This is a mess that shouldn't be over here, and you're going to be in slavery if you keep putting all this stuff in our category.
Well, and if Mark Zuckerberg's family was right, he wouldn't be doing this crap either.
And so, pastors, I need you guys to start preaching. Dads, I need you guys to grab your Bible, sit down with your family, pray with them, disciple your children, and you decide if they're mature enough to handle social media or not, if they should have a phone or not, what things they can watch in the house or not. But what this is showing me that you guys aren't doing your job, because I have to act like your dad. Yeah. I'm not your dad, okay? Nor do I want to be. Right. So do your job so I don't have to, because I shouldn't be doing it. That's what I feel like. That's what a godly politician is going to stand in that place, and he's going to stand in the gap between those two spheres and say, I'm not going to be your dad. Right. I will punish wickedness, but I can't be the father that says what age your kid gets to do what and when that.
Right.
Not the Department of Tobacco, firearms, and social media.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's what you're going to get, though. Right. And I mean, you're going to get more. That's really good. And it lines up with what David Bonson was saying yesterday too, just in terms of like, where does Reformation come from? Right. Well, how are you going to get just laws? Well, you need to have justice in the community. You need to have justice in the church. You need to have justice in the family government. If you don't have it there, why would we expect it up there? But I guess I still want to say, as a senator, as someone who actually is appointed by God to uphold justice, he ought to be actually proposing laws that are actually doing that, not silly Band-Aids that actually step in the place of what the family government's supposed to be doing.
I think, and he thinks he's doing that. To be fair, he thinks he's doing that, and we just have to have a resurgence of biblical theology.
Yeah, think about this. Think about the Overton window. The left is going to be run, like, if this was a radical leftist, what kind of law is he going to propose? He's going to propose abortions all the way to 9 months and maybe a year after, just to make sure. And if you miss the first time and they're born alive, you can kill them again.
Well, Second Amendment stuff is right on the table with this.
They're going to ban all firearms, register them all.
Yeah. And we'll give you a lot. Oh wait, they already do.
And they're going to say basically any parents who try to get in the way of the health of their children, and their sexuality, they're conspiring to commit a crime, and they need to children all the way down to 2 years of age should be allowed to have sex changes. I mean that's how leftists do it.
Yeah.
They just go all the way.
Yeah.
And we're like licenses until when you're 16.
Yeah. Right.
Well, then what happens when 16-year-olds aren't capable of handling it then? Now you make a license for when they're 18?
Yeah. And then 21.
It moves up, and then 25.
Maybe 21. And then
adulting.
That's the limit now. So it doesn't stop at some point, because if you don't fix the main problem, which is the family.
Right. But I also think, but there's a bunch of There are a bunch of plays there. I mean, if government schools are this Marxist indoctrination centers where so much sexual abuse actually happens, where a lot of this, the stuff that he's worried about on social media is starting to happen in preschool. We watched a video of that preschool teacher, of that those kids, teaching them, them, they, pronouns, and sexual confusion. Yep. That's happening in government-funded schools, and he's going after TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I mean, I think probably something needs to be done there. But how about starting here at home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's drain that swamp. Let's completely. Let's do what Thomas Massey's his proposal
and Department of Ed
and the Federal Department of Education. Yeah. If you really want to do something significant, get behind something that's
biblically defensible.
Anyways, I don't know. Do you have anything else?
Turn it to the song.
No, again, the conversation with Bonson is fresh in my head, and the only thing I keep thinking about is just how important the family is. And the bully pulpit that, if he can actually look, he got a bunch of attention off of this. He's going to keep getting a bunch of attention off of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bully pulpit the importance of the family, you'll erase TikTok. Right? Do you understand? You will erase TikTok. So, but no one is going to do that. And so if there's a place that he gets to point to, it's like your family and your churches. And in 20, 30 years, this goes away. This really does. And you don't even have to pass laws to do that. Right. And
there's no demand for it.
The culture is completely different. But if you keep making laws thinking that that's going to stop the sin, it's not. Right. Laws don't do that, right? That's not what they're going to do. You need change hearts. That people who believe the gospel, who have changed hearts and act differently, you get a different kind of culture. You don't even get that kind of thing that has a taste in people's mouth for it because of the society is different.
Right.
You don't have father hunger. That's what's going on there.
One of the ways he could do that is he could say, look, I know that we have a major discipleship problem and parenting problem and family problem.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm co-signing on with Thomas Massey. We're ending the Department of Education. That's because this is your job.
And I'm signing a resolution that you need to read all of Doug Wilson's family books.
And so now with all that money that goes back into the family, dads don't have to work. There's the amount of hours they need to work. They can spend time now with their kids and raise their kids in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Right? Like that's
those are I think and
everybody's like, that's far-fetched. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Right.
But we're gonna pass a 16-year-old ban on TikTok.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he knows this is not gonna pass.
Yeah.
He knows that. So
the Democrats aren't gonna bite on it.
But that's why I think it's a fail, because it's like, why are we? I don't want to argue about that. I want to argue about the bigger problem.
That's right.
And he needs a firmer ground to stand on. Right. Yeah. And it ought to be a place where it's actually the civil magistrate's job, rather than him taking over the.
That's right.
Josh, if you want to come on and tell us maybe what your real play is, you're more than welcome to do it. I'd love to have you on.
Yeah, love to have you. Reformation Heritage Books is a publisher and bookseller whose mission is, by the Spirit's grace, to aim for the conversion of unbelievers and to equip the saints to serve Christ and his church through biblical, experiential, and practical ministry via books, tracts, and other resources. Reformation Heritage Books is committed to the conviction that the scriptures of the Old and New Testaments, as originally written, are God's inerrant word, inspired by his Spirit, and therefore are the only sufficient and infallible authority for faith and practice. Visit their website today at heritagebooks.org for more information. That's heritagebooks.org.
I love that ad.
Hey, beer and Psalms.
Hey, cheers to the king.
Cheers.
Cheers to the king.
Cheers to the king. Today's psalm is Psalm 68. Psalm 68 is a pretty long psalm. I'm not going to read every single verse. So if you're following along at home, you'll notice I'm skipping a few here and there. But it starts off this way. Let God arise. Let his enemies be scattered. Let them also that hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melts before the fire, so let the wicked perish at the presence of God. But let the righteous be glad. Let them rejoice before God. Yea, let them exceedingly rejoice. Sing unto God. Sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Yah, and rejoice before him. He's a father of the fatherless, a judge of the widows. God in his holy habitation. God setteth the solitary in families. He bringeth out those which are bound with chains, but the rebellious dwell in a dry land. That's the first 6 verses. This psalm was known as the battle hymn of the Huguenots. Psalm 68 is the battle hymn of the Huguenots. The French Protestants would sing this as they went into battle. And so it is one of the great battle songs of the Psalter. It calls upon God to rise up. And as this metrical version that we're listening to puts it, put the troops of hell to flight, to drive them away like smoke in a wind, for God's people to praise him as their Savior. And then the psalm turns to recall how God has been this kind of God in the past, how God is a warrior who has marched out to battle for his people time and time again. God is our warrior. God fights for his people. He's pictured also as a great storm, and in particular, the great storm of Mount Sinai, where the whole mountain was on fire, covered in thick black clouds and thunder and lightning. And this psalm adds torrents of rain pouring, causing the kings of all the armies to flee, leaving so much plunder behind them that it leaves even the birds covered in silver and gold. And then it goes on, O God, when thou wentst forth before thy people, when thou didst march through the wilderness, the earth shook, the heavens also dropped at the presence of God. Even Sinai itself was moved at the presence of God, the God of Israel. Thou, O God, didst send a plentiful rain. Kings of armies did flee apace, and she that tarried at home divides the spoil. Though ye have lean among the pots, yet shall ye be as the wings of a dove, covered with silver, and her feathers with yellow gold. Then the psalm moves on and says that this is because God's throne is higher than all the mountains on the earth. His armies are more than all the armies of the earth, full of chariots and angels, again, referring to Mount Sinai as evidence of his might. And then it says that God is ascended to his throne, leading captivity captive and receiving gifts for men. This verse is, of course, quoted by Paul in Ephesians 4, referring to the ascension of Jesus and his pouring out of gifts on the church. And then the psalm responds to this with blessing the Lord for daily loading us with benefits, the God of our salvation, the God who wounds the scalps of our enemies and saves his people, even from the depths of the sea, which reminds us of Jonah even. So then it says, and God shall wound the head of his enemies, the hairy scalp of such as one as goeth on still his trespasses. The Lord said, I will bring again from Bashan, I will bring my people again from the depths of the sea. Finally, the psalm turns to call to worship all of Israel, calling on all the tribes, all the armies and princes of Israel, even the princes of all the kingdoms of the earth, to come and bow down and pay tribute to the King of Kings, since all might and power and strength belong to God, the God of Israel. Blessed be God forever and ever. So the charge for today is to remember that God is our great warrior. God is stronger, mightier, and never misses. His throne is above all thrones. He rules now in perfect sovereignty, and he must reign until all his enemies have been put beneath his feet. And the last enemy to be destroyed will be death itself. So our job is to simply trust and obey. Trust and obey our King. Read the word, sing the word, believe the word, obey the word. When we obey, we are carrying out the orders of our King, and so we can trust him. That our obedience in your local church, your obedience in your family, your obedience in your community is being used by our King to put the troops of hell to flight.
He don't miss. I like that.
He don't miss.
Cheers to the King.
Cheers.
Cheers to the King.
There you go. Yeah, that one last time. So if you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
When I was there my first year getting ready to take my finals for the master's program. And Oxford's interesting. When you take a program, all of your finals are at the end for whatever you took. So if you did an undergraduate there, you might take classes for 3 years, but all of your finals are at the end of your third year. So that class that you took first term, your first year, you don't take the final for it until at the very end. So it's 100% all there at the end. You have to have it all ready, which makes it really intense. We were preparing for our finals, and a lot of the finals, you'll go into this room. There's one building that all the finals are delivered in, and you go in and your final will be put down in front of you, and oftentimes you need to write an essay on something, quite a lot of essay writing. As they were preparing it for us, they brought somebody in to walk us through, like, how do you do an Oxford essay? And they were saying that a few years before, they had done a deep study at Oxford. They were trying to figure out why it was that their grading tended to constantly favor male students. And they were very concerned because they wanted diversity and all of these things. And they wanted to figure out what was the problem, because all of the finals, those essays are graded double or even triple blind, meaning you just have a number put at the top and it's handed off to 2 or 3 different people who don't know who you are, don't know your name, they just know the number, and they grade it all independently, and then that is your grade. So it's quite objective as far as that goes. So why was it that their grading kept favoring men over women? And they realized that the deal was that Oxford was, for a long time, this is where they were training, for instance, the men who would be taking British troops to India and leading them as officers in difficult situations. And when you had a question, if I asked a student a question, there was a tendency, I think, in their female students to say, okay, that's a really good question. You could look at it this way, you could also look at it this way, and they would kind of pull it all apart, show all the different ways you could interpret it. Then there was a tendency amongst their male students to say, here's the question, here's my answer. You know, here's the correct answer. And I argue it out and I say this is the right answer and everything else is wrong. And that decisiveness of, I know what I believe, I'm gonna make this determination, that decisiveness was something that they had over centuries come to appreciate and select for. And so you have this kind of institutional memory of selecting for equality that actually did tend to favor men. But I thought it was just really interesting where when you as an institution purpose to, we want an education that inculcates leadership, that it starts to kind of work throughout the institution and your instincts, your habits and whatnot. And I think that when you've done that for 5, 6 centuries, then you start to develop a certain kind of inertia in that direction. I like the idea of being a school that has thought through what it is to inculcate a certain way of behaving. And I would like NSA to be that kind of school, that we're generating leaders and shapers of culture.
Putting off writing that proposal again? Yeah, we've been there. Proposal writing can be tough. It takes work, and if you're not careful, you can set up your company for failure. Well, that's where we come in. Smart Pricing Table is an innovative application that focuses on, well, the pricing table. Instead of a static document and constant back and forth, our platform creates interactive proposals that empower your prospects. Not sure if something is needed? Make it optional. Have complicated services that vary? Let your customer do the work with line item upsells. Have reoccurring services? Easy peasy. With Smart Pricing Table, you can create attractive proposals quickly. And our system is built for reuse, so you can get out of that hamster wheel. Give your customers choice and close deals quickly with Smart Pricing Table.